Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Brian Stringer. I've been with ERA Waters for 15 years, and I'm one of the PT technical specialists who are here to help you with your PT studies. Like many of you, I've seen lots of DMR-QA studies, but whether you're a veteran or a newcomer, the process can seem complicated, and there's always something new to learn. I do encourage you to submit questions through the webinar chat. We won't answer them today, but we will include them in the copy we send to all attendees. So first, a little about ERA. We've been doing this for a very long time and provide proficiency testing services throughout the U.S. and around the world. We offer PT studies and certified reference materials for many different matrices: wastewater, drinking water, soils, etc. We also offer custom standards to meet any needs you may have. Okay, for today's webinar, we'll cover the following topics: key DMR-QA reporting deadlines, common reporting errors and how to avoid them, updating contact information and multi-user login, entering study results into eDATA, releasing results to NPDES permittees, retrieving graded reports, EPA forms and checklists for state coordinators, and finally, the corrective action process. The DMR-QA study announcement letter has been sent out to some participants last week by the EPA, and others will be receiving them hopefully this week. These dates are on the announcement letter, but some key points are for permittees to, of course, notify your labs of the tests you require from them. And Study 39 ends on July 19th. So this is the deadline for submitting results for the DMR-QA 39 study and for your in-house and contract labs to link their results to your NPDES permit numbers. ERA will send graded reports to all laboratories, permittees, and coordinators in participating states on August 16th. At that point, labs can then order any required retests for analytes with not acceptable evaluations. You want to touch base with your laboratories around August 30th to just make sure you and your contract laboratories are on the same page for corrective action. On September 13th is the deadline for permittees to send signed copies of the NPDES permittee data report forms and any chemistry microbiology checklists and or wet analyte checklists to state DMR-QA coordinators. Note that ERA will include copies of these forms and the checklists in the graded reports we send out to all permittees. And lastly, November 8th is the deadline for permittees to submit any corrective action reports to your state coordinator. That also is along with graded results from retests performed by your in-house or contract labs as required. You also have the option of using a WP study to meet your DMR-QA requirements. This can be used in the dual purpose of also meeting your state laboratory accreditation requirements if you have them. You want to note, though, if you participate in the DMR-QA study itself, your results are due back by July 19th. If you use one of our WP studies, results must be reported by the close of that specific WP study you're using. So just please make note of that. Now, you already know how to perform the tests you are required of you every day. You do it well, you do it right, so then you should get credit for it on your PT study. Unfortunately, we all too often see labs fail PT tests simply due to calculation errors or reporting errors. We want to help you avoid these common errors and get the acceptable evaluations you deserve. First, I recommend reading the general instructions for the study. They're found in the packet of paperwork shipped with your samples. This information provides important guidelines for analyzing, reporting the samples. You'll also want to find the specific sample instructions for each standard you received. You'll find storage requirements, dilution instructions, and other information to help you successfully analyze the samples. Next, always read the data reporting forms before starting your analysis. They provide some key information, such as the concentration range for each analyte. This is the possible range for the assigned values. This can help you when you're setting up your calibrations or when performing any additional dilutions. Also, please make note of the units listed for each analyte. This is key to reporting your results in the correct units, such as milligrams per liter or micrograms per liter. And take special note of the possible analytes listed for each sample you received. It may be more than you actually perform at your laboratory, but you only need to report results for the analytes that are on your NPDES permit, that are listed in the DMR-QA announcement letter, and that you test at your own in-house facility. You don't have to report everything that's possible in that standard. The last kind of important common error, the thing we want to emphasize, is when it comes time to submit your results, be careful to report the results on the correct line of the data reporting forms or on the EPA eDATA website. This is especially common when reporting results for the following samples. For demand, just be sure to look for your BOD, CBOD, COD, or TOC line. For solids, use the correct line for TSS or TDS or TS if that's the analyte you run. For wastewater coliforms, report on the correct lines for total coliforms, fecal coliforms or E. coli, and of course make note of whether your method is a membrane filtration, the MF, or most probable number, the MPN. Just want to get you, again, the credit for that you deserve, analyzing, reporting the samples on the right line. No problems, no questions asked afterwards. Also, you want to report your results from the blind PT standards and not from any possible QC samples you may have received. You can look at the labels for PT studies. They have a green edge. They list DMR-QA 39 or a WP study number, and they show the lot number. Labels for QC samples have a blue edge. They have QC on the label, and they show the lot number. And of course, this lot number should match the certificate of analysis you received with your samples. Lastly, be sure to report your results on time. It's always a shame to get the right results only to miss the deadline. So please make note of the close date of whatever study you're using this year. Again, that's the DMR-QA 39 study itself or one of our many WP studies. We'll now move on to using our eDATA portal to actually submit your PT results. To access eDATA, go to our main website and click on the red eDATA login in the upper corner. Enter username if you have one. Otherwise, enter your ERA customer number or NPDES permit number and then your password. If you don't remember your password, try using the create reset password function on the login page. If you have trouble with this, of course, you can call us at 1-800-372-0122 and we'll be glad to help. If you previously contacted ERA last year or earlier this year to set up a username, you'll be taken straight to the eDATA homepage after logging in. You'll be ready to enter your data. Otherwise, you'll see the following screen. This screen shows the contacts we have on file for your facility. You can easily delete any contacts who no longer need to use eDATA. You may also edit information for any of the contacts. But a couple of important notes. If you have an in-house lab, you must have one primary laboratory contact who will be the default name for lab reports. This is indicated by the letter L under primary. If you're an NPDES permittee, you need one primary permittee contact who will receive the graded DMR-QA report. You can see this is indicated by the letter P. In the next column, you see the roles are listed. If you do not have a role listed for your contact information, just select the blue Edit pencil. And on the next screen, you'll see your contact information. On this screen, you would select your username. Please note, this can't be changed, and you will use this username to log into eDATA going forward, instead of using your ERA customer number or NPDES password. That way it'll be a username and a login information for you and you alone. You don't have to share that with your coworkers. Next, select a permission level. You'll use the drop-down list. Simply, you can choose data entry if you want to only enter data. Administrators can do enter data. Oh, I apologize, I skipped data entry. Reviewers can review reports. Data entry allows you to the important task of entering your results, and administrators, they can do all of that. Plus, they can edit, they can delete, they can add contacts for your facility. Because of that, you should have at least one administrator on your account. You can have more than one though. After selecting Save, you should receive an email. It will have a link to follow to create your password. This can be anything you want. It can be changed whenever you wish. However, if you don't receive an email within a few minutes, I recommend going to the customer number in the upper right-hand corner of the screen and selecting Logout. Then simply use the Create Reset Password function on the right side of that login screen to trigger the email. Again, you'll follow that email link, set up a new password for yourself, and you'll be ready to go. Speaking of which, when you are ready to enter your PT results, just click on the green eDATA logo in the upper left-hand corner. It always takes you to the home screen. Unfortunately, we don't really have time today for a complete tutorial for data entry, but at the end of the webinar, we'll list some resources available on our website and, of course, calling our helplines for various technical staff, etc., and we'll help you with this part of things too. For today, we'll cover a few key points. First, select the green Start button, and you'll be taken to step 1, enter mailing address. It's a simple step. Just answer OK to the first pop-up statement. Simply review the contact and mailing address, make any necessary changes, select the green Save and Continue button. Please note, this person is your lab contact. They will not receive the final DMR-QA permittee report. We'll cover the permittee contact in the Retrieving the DMR-QA permittee final report section later in the webinar. At this point, the Enter Mailing Address button for step green will be green. It's simply our indicators that a step has been completed. It includes a little check mark. Again, another indicator on our website to show an easy progress through our steps. You'll now be on step 2, labeled Agencies and Third Parties. If you hold laboratory accreditation with your state, you can simply check the box next to your state agency, or if this is your first study with ERA, you search for them under Add More Agencies. Please note, you may not find your agency listed there, or your state, I should say, because only a few of them actually allow the use of the DMR-QA study itself for state lab accreditation. Most require a WP study. All of the states are listed under the WP studies. That may not be a problem though, because most NPDES permittees are using the DMR-QA study or a WPT study to meet DMR-QA study requirements only. That's the majority of folks out there. If that's the case, just check Reporting to DMR-QA Coordinator only. We will then send your graded results to your DMR-QA state coordinator. Finally, select again the green Save and Continue button down at the bottom. You're now on step 3, enter and submit data. This screen is also known as the standards list. You'll be asked to come back to the standards list several times during your process if you have more than one product. You notice the black circle with a little X in it. It indicates you have not entered data for that standard. Simply click to select any standard to begin entering your results. On the next screen, you'll click in the method box first. Not the method title, that just simply indicates it's your first method of this product. So in the method box, you'll see a drop-down list, lots of different options in there. You simply pick the method that you like best. You'll notice standard methods are listed two different ways. You'll see them with the revision year as part of the description, such as SM 4500H plus B dash 2011 dash 2000, 1996, etc. for pH. If you like that choice, if that's what your state wants for your accreditation, you choose the one that applies to you. Or you can pick the one without the year next to it. These are listed a little further down the list after all the options with the years. You'll see, for instance, simply SM 4500 H plus B. When you choose this selection without the year, it populates the next box, the revision edition box. It'll often default to online. You simply click in this box to then select your edition of standard methods, such as 22nd edition, 21st edition, etc. That way you're getting the method, the edition, exactly as your state wants it to be. So the answer to this is if your method is listed the way you like it, just select it from the list. This will populate the NELAC code in the following field and the tech key. Both are fine, just leave them as they are. If your method is not on the list, that's okay. You can always manually enter any method you wish in the method box. Just simply type it in there. The search function will stop searching at a certain point, let you just type and finish. If you do enter your own method, be sure to check the box labeled check if NELAC code is not required. Or on some screens it's labeled NELAC code opt-out. That will allow you to save your data without a NELAC code. Next, pick your analysis date from the drop-down calendar. And of course, enter your test results. We always recommend, again, taking special note of the analyte names, getting that on the right line, the units, and the concentration ranges that we've manufactured this sample. Now, select the green Save and Continue button and answer yes to return to the standards list. As we go back to the standards list, you can now see pH cat number 577 is green, has a nice little check mark. We're done with pH. You would just proceed the same way for all of your standards. When you're finished, you come back to this standards list and you can get a summary of what you just entered using the two green buttons labeled Email Study Summary to receive an email attachment, or the View Study Summary button to print one out for your records. Now, we'll assume you've entered your data. The next step, of course, you're doing this for DMR-QA requirements, so you have to tell us what NPDES permit numbers you're doing all this work for. So this is where you will link or release your data to one or more NPDES permits. Permittees performing in-house testing will see a bright red button labeled Release Data to Your Permit. I think it was actually on that last standard screen. I should have put a new little screenshot here for you to see that, but if you go back one step, you'll see it. It's bright red. It's the only thing on that screen that's red. The reason is we want you to see it. If you are doing this testing for your in-house permit only, just your one in-house permit, hit the red button. It will link all of your analytes to your permit. You'll notice step 5 changes to green with a little check mark. You get your study summary, you log out, and you are done. I always want to point out the red button remains on the screen in case you need to use it again. It won't go away or change after you've hit it. Now, if you're running tests for multiple permittees, if you're a contract lab or you're at a large municipality where you're doing testing for the water plant down the road, select Step 5, NPDES Permittee Reporting. On this screen, you'll see permit numbers from previous DMR-QA studies listed on the left-hand side under Step 1. They're, of course, labeled red, needs attention. If your permits are not listed there, or if you have new permits that you need to add, simply search for them by checking the little blue Add button, typing in the permit number, searching for it, and adding them. There's an Add to your list button. If you don't see the permit, that means we just simply have not added it into our system yet. Please send us an email. List the permit name, the permit number, the mailing address, and a contact information for that permit. We will then enter them in our database. You'll be ready to release your data to them. So now that you've had your list of permits there, you're ready to release individual data to each of those permits. For these steps, we use the checkboxes and the blue buttons that are down at the bottom of the screen. The first option is to release all of your test results to a permit. To do that, you just check the box next to the permit number. You select Link All Analytes to Selected Permittees button, and you select the Release Selected Permittees button. You will then have linked your analytes, released them to that one permit. That one's done. If you want to release specific tests, though, to individual permittees, I recommend this. This makes their report a little cleaner for them and their DMR-QA coordinator. You click on the permit number. Don't use the checkbox, just write on the name and number, and it displays the tests in Step 2. You check the tests you want, save and continue, and you'll notice a little red needs attention alert next to the permit number stays to a nice orange analyte selected status. I'm not showing all this on the screen. There's just a little too much information to keep you on the phone for on your computer for too long. But this will be a nice resource when we send this as a PDF file. You'll be able to refer back to this when you're actually doing these steps. It's a little confusing on this page, but once you go through it, you'll see it flows nicely from left to right, Step 1, 2, and 3. So now that we've moved or added the permittee to Step 3, you simply, again, check the box next to the permittee and use the blue Release Results to Permittee. The permittee is now at the nice green Released status, and the data entry summary will now list each of the permittees and the tests you linked up to them. You can get, of course, that summary as we talked about on the main Enter and Submit data step. Now we'll talk about one other aspect of the DMR-QA study. If you are a permittee that uses a contract lab for any outside testing, you, of course, as the EPA announcement letter states, notify them of your DMR-QA requirements. Notify them what tests you need, just to give them the word that you got the letter again this year and you need their help, you need their PT study results. Contract labs, they will simply order an appropriate PT study. They'll perform the analysis. They'll report their results by the appropriate study deadline, just like we looked at. They'll release or link their results to the NPDES permit numbers for their customers. Simple as that. It's very important for the permittees and for the contract labs to know that all of the linking of results to the permits should occur no later than July 19th. That's the close of the DMR-QA study this year, and this will ensure the results are included on the graded reports that ERA sends to the State DMR-QA Coordinators. Call us if you have any questions or need any help with that, of course. Now, permittees will be able to see the status of their contract labs. by following the instructions on the following slide labeled Retrieving the DMR-QA Permittee Final Report. Corrective action steps for contract labs are described on a later slide, Corrective action process. But again, it's all combined, permittees, contract labs, we're all working together with you, the laboratories, to make sure everybody meets their DMR-QA requirements. So if you are a permittee, we'll go to the next stage of this. You log into eDATA, you go to DMR-QA, and in the center of the top menu bar, you will see Review DMR-QA Data. There's really not much to see on this screen. It's simply your mailing address for the primary permittee contact. You want to look it over, make sure everything is good. Please note the name and email address on this screen will be used for the DMR-QA permittee report. Make any changes, select Save and Continue, and always answer yes to continue to the next screen. Here you'll see all labs who release data to your NPDES permit number for this year. You can look at the lists, you can select Review Analytes, you can even uncheck any analytes you do not need, and then select Save. You might not have to do any of this, but if you want to see if your contract lab has released their data to you, what tests they've released, you can look this up. You can call us up. We'll help you navigate this screen. When we release the graded reports on August 16th, you will then see two green buttons at the bottom of that screen. Simply Generate Report gives you a copy of the DMR-QA data report forms and checklists in case you need new ones. The Permittee Final Report, that's the key. That opens your complete graded DMR-QA report with all the evaluations. In that report, we will have a copy of the checklists and forms you need to send to your state coordinators. So, on August 16th, when we send you those graded reports, we send them to the permittees. We also send copies to the laboratories, and we send them to State DMR-QA Coordinators with the study results that were reported to ERA. The permittee reports include, as I mentioned, a copy of the following forms. These are the official names of them. They are in the DMR-QA Study 39 announcement letter on the pages I listed there. You can use the pages from the DMR-QA announcement letter from the EPA, or you can use our versions, which are pre-populated with most of your information because we have your contact information, we know what analytes you analyzed, and of course, we know whether you passed or not. So the NPDES Permittee Data Report Form, that's equivalent to page 10 and 11 of the EPA's announcement letter. The Chemistry/Microbiology Analyte Checklist is page 12. The Wet Analyte Checklists are page 13. The permittees have the responsibility of sending a signed copy of these permittee data report forms along with signed copies of any of the checklists that you may need. If you have only chemistry or microbiology tests, you won't have a wet analyte checklist. If you only have wet, of course, testing performed by that laboratory, that's the only checklist you would have from that laboratory. You will send these to your state coordinator by September 13th. That's one of your important deadlines. Now, if you have an unacceptable, we hope this doesn't happen, but unfortunately, problems can occur and all is not lost. There is a process and there is actually plenty of time to complete a corrective action. If your contract lab uses ERA and receives a not acceptable result, we will include information about what is required in your graded DMR-QA permittee report. If a retest study is required in your state, contract labs are to send retest results to permittees as soon as possible, well before the permittee's actual November 8th deadline, to give them time to put their paperwork together. If your in-house laboratory receives any not acceptable results, we'll also, of course, include information about this in your permittee report, along with an order form. if we know a retest is required in your state. Some states have different processes, different requirements for corrective action. So if you have an order form, it will show you what you need. If there is no order form, your state may have a different requirement, and we would recommend you contact them to ask what you should do. Now, QC samples can be very useful during your corrective action investigation. You can order those along with or instead of, if you want to do troubleshooting, instead of your PT study, your quick response study, your WP study, whatever you're using for DMR-QA corrective action. The important thing for you is permittees are to submit a corrective action report, including retest results, to their state DMR-QA coordinator by November 8th. All of that, again, is in your DMR-QA announcement letter from the EPA. We want to emphasize the dates that are kind of catch people off guard. You have plenty of time to do corrective action, though, as I mentioned, by November 8th. So that pretty much wraps up the webinar for the technical information. We do have a variety of resources available to you on our website. We have various webinars. We have FAQs, DMR-QA tips. We also, of course, have our technical support for actually analyzing the samples if you need help. We have help reporting your results with all the forms, and we have our customer service staff available to help you place your orders, get a corrective action if needed, help you get the right samples. And finally, here are all the ways to contact ERA. We're available 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday. We're here from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Fridays. We're available by phone, by fax, by email. We encourage you to call us. We have the expertise, we have the technical support, we have the staff to help you meet your DMR-QA requirements. Get it right, get it done, get your acceptable results, and your state will be happy with you. And lastly, we will send a copy of the webinar as a PDF file to all attendees. So I know we went through this quickly, but you'll be able to have that as a resource for you to refer to. We will also send answers to the questions that we've received. Hopefully those will be very useful to you too. I will say thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us today. I hope it's been useful. I hope it's been worth your time, and will help you successfully complete DMR-QA study this year and actually for many years to come. Thank you again.